Have you ever woken up in the morning and felt that familiar ache in your joints, especially after a night of rest? It's like your body's way of reminding you that it's not as young as it used to be. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. As we age, our joints can start to feel stiffer, and the pain can become more frequent. But here's the thing, you don't have to just accept it as part of getting older. The food we eat plays a huge role in how our joints feel, and some foods, in particular, can actually make that pain worse. In today's video, we're going to talk about the 6 worst foods for joint pain, foods that, if you're over 65, you may want to consider cutting back on. And the best part? Once you know what to avoid, you'll have a better chance at feeling more comfortable and mobile in your day-to-day life. Before we dive into the list, let's talk about why this matters. Our joints are made up of cartilage, and as we age, the cartilage can wear down. This can lead to conditions like osteoarthritis, which is a common cause of joint pain in older adults. But did you know that certain foods can actually contribute to the inflammation in your joints? The more inflammation, the more pain. It's a vicious cycle, but it doesn't have to be. By making a few simple changes to your diet, you could experience a reduction in that discomfort. So, let's start with the first 2 foods you should be mindful of. The first culprit is something most of us probably eat at least a few times a week: refined sugar. I know, it's a tough one. A donut in the morning, a cookie after lunch, or that sweet tea you enjoy in the afternoon, it all adds up. But the thing with refined sugars is that they trigger an inflammatory response in the body. It's like giving your joints a constant reminder to swell up and hurt. The more sugar you eat, the more your body produces inflammatory proteins, which can lead to more pain in your joints. And this doesn't just mean sugary snacks. We're talking about anything with added sugars, processed foods, sweetened drinks, and even sauces like ketchup and barbecue sauce. So, if you're reaching for that sweet treat in the middle of the day, think twice. Instead, try swapping it out for something naturally sweet like fruit, or better yet, focus on whole, unprocessed foods that nourish your body without causing inflammation. Now, let's move on to another common food group that's often hiding in our meals: refined carbohydrates. These are foods like white bread, pasta, and most baked goods. The problem with refined carbs is that they're quickly broken down into sugar in your body, which, as we've just discussed, can cause inflammation. But it doesn't stop there. These carbs have very little nutritional value, meaning that while they may taste good, they don't provide your body with the nutrients it needs to maintain strong, healthy joints. Over time, consuming these foods regularly can lead to an increase in body weight, which places even more strain on your joints. Think about how your knees, hips, and back might feel with extra pounds. So try to opt for whole grains, like brown rice, quinoa, and whole wheat bread, which are packed with fiber and have a much lower glycemic index. This helps keep your blood sugar stable, which in turn helps keep that inflammation at bay. Now that we've tackled sugar and refined carbs, we can see how the foods we eat can really make a difference in how we feel. But there are still more foods that we need to be cautious about, especially as we age. That's what we'll dive into in the next part. Now that we've covered the impact of sugar and refined carbs, let's move on to a couple of other foods that can really affect your joint health, especially when you hit your 60s or beyond. The next one on our list is fried foods. I know, they're hard to resist. Crispy fries, fried chicken, tempura, you name it. But here's the thing. Fried foods are loaded with unhealthy fats, particularly trans fats. These fats are known to trigger inflammation in the body, and inflammation is the last thing you want if you're dealing with joint pain. When you eat foods that are fried, not only are you increasing the unhealthy fats in your diet, but you're also adding to the burden your joints have to carry. Think about it. Every time you indulge in those fried treats, you're giving your body more reasons to feel stiff and sore. But don't worry, there are plenty of alternatives that taste just as good. You can bake, grill, or even air fry your food. This way, you're cutting out the excess fat while still enjoying those crispy textures. It's all about finding healthier ways to cook and choosing options that nourish rather than harm. Next up is processed meats. You know, the bacon, sausages, hot dogs, and deli meats that are often staples in a lot of diets. These meats contain high levels of saturated fats and preservatives like nitrates, both of which can contribute to inflammation in your joints. While the occasional bacon strip or sausage at breakfast won't immediately send your joints into a flare-up, regular consumption can certainly take a toll over time. The high sodium content in processed meats can also lead to fluid retention, putting more pressure on your joints and making the pain worse. If you're craving that meaty goodness, why not try some leaner cuts like chicken or turkey? There are also plant-based options these days that taste just like meat but without the harmful effects. Your joints will thank you, and your overall health will improve too. Speaking of fluid retention, that brings us to the next food on our list: dairy products. Now, I know dairy is a go-to for many people for its calcium content, which is important for bone health, but it can also be a culprit when it comes to joint pain. Some people have sensitivities to dairy, which can cause inflammation in the body, leading to more joint discomfort. Even if you don't have a full-blown dairy allergy, consuming a lot of milk, cheese, or yogurt can exacerbate the symptoms of conditions like osteoarthritis. If you're feeling skeptical, try cutting out dairy for a week and see how your joints feel. You might be surprised by the difference. If you find that dairy is indeed a problem, you can turn to dairy alternatives like almond milk, soy milk, or coconut yogurt, which are often fortified with calcium but without the inflammatory effects. This way, you're still supporting your bone health, but you're also being kinder to your joints. Now that we've covered fried foods, processed meats, and dairy, we can start to see a pattern here. It's not just about avoiding a single food group, it's about being mindful of how the food you eat can affect your joints over time. The next food we need to discuss is one that's particularly tricky because it's hidden in so many everyday products: alcohol. Alcohol is one of those things that's easy to overlook when it comes to joint pain. A glass of wine with dinner or a beer after a long day may seem harmless, but alcohol can actually contribute to inflammation, making joint pain worse. It can also interfere with your body's ability to absorb essential nutrients, leading to a deficiency that might impact your joint health. Moreover, alcohol can dehydrate your body, and when you're dehydrated, your joints don't have the proper lubrication they need to move smoothly. So, while an occasional drink might not cause major harm, regular drinking can certainly contribute to long-term joint issues. If you're someone who enjoys alcohol, it's a good idea to keep it in moderation and make sure you're drinking plenty of water to stay hydrated. Now that we've gone through fried foods, processed meats, dairy, and alcohol, we've covered a good amount of ground when it comes to foods that can make your joints feel worse. But don't worry, we're not just here to tell you what to avoid. We're also here to help you find better alternatives, and that's something we'll dive into in the next part. We've already discussed several foods that can contribute to joint pain, but now it's time to wrap up with the last two culprits that might be sneaking into your meals without you even realizing it. Let's talk about vegetable oils. You might think that all oils are created equal, but when it comes to your joints, some oils can actually be worse for you than others. Vegetable oils, especially those high in omega-6 fatty acids, such as soybean oil, corn oil, and sunflower oil, can cause your body to produce more inflammatory compounds. Inflammation is exactly what you're trying to avoid when managing joint pain. In addition, many processed foods contain these oils, which are used because they're cheap and have a long shelf life. The problem is that they disrupt the balance of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids in your body. While omega-6 fats are essential in small amounts, most people consume far too much of them, leading to an imbalance that promotes inflammation. So, what's the better option? You can use oils that are high in omega-3 fatty acids, like olive oil or flaxseed oil. These healthier fats not only help fight inflammation, but they also promote heart health, making them a win-win for your joints and your overall well-being. Finally, the last food to avoid is one that's often a staple in many diets: artificial additives and preservatives. These are found in a variety of packaged foods, from snacks to ready-made meals. While they may make food last longer on the shelf or taste better, they're not doing any favors for your joints. Some preservatives, like monosodium glutamate, MSG, and aspartame, have been linked to an increase in joint inflammation. Furthermore, artificial additives can sometimes trigger allergic reactions or sensitivities that worsen joint pain. The best way to avoid these sneaky additives is to stick to whole, fresh foods whenever possible. Cooking from scratch might take a little more time, but it's well worth it when you consider how much better your body will feel in the long run. So, to summarize the 6 worst foods for joint pain, here's what we've covered: refined sugars, refined carbohydrates, fried foods, processed meats, dairy, and alcohol. And on top of those, we've discussed vegetable oils and artificial additives as additional offenders when it comes to inflammation and joint discomfort. Remember, the goal isn't to completely eliminate all of these foods from your life. It's about making more informed choices and taking small steps to help reduce joint pain. If you can start by cutting back on just 1 or 2 of these foods and replacing them with healthier alternatives, you might start feeling a difference. Small changes can make a big impact on your overall health and quality of life. You might also find that as you reduce your intake of these foods, you'll not only feel better in your joints, but also notice improvements in your energy levels, sleep quality, and overall well-being. And that's what it's all about: feeling your best at any age. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you experienced any changes in your joint pain after adjusting your diet? Let me know what's worked for you. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more tips on how to live a healthier, more vibrant life as you age. Remember, you deserve to live your best life, and every little step you take to care for your body counts. Here's to a future with fewer aches and more smiles. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.